So, ioslate, why should you care? If you think about the risk and return curve, it looks a little like that. If you're a supply chain finance company, we can help you move down the curve. If you're not, and you just need to know where the risk is in your supply chain, well, guess what? We can help you with that too. Here's the software demo. So the first thing to mention is that our whole thing sits in Microsoft Azure Cloud. So it's both completely accessible from the web and very secure. Just logging in then. We have some super cool administrative functions, but that's probably for another time. Just defaults to the navigation page. If we take you to the input screen first, the key to how Slate works is the transactional input. It's not like a standard ERP system, a standard accounting system. We've auto-filled a lot of these, and it'll get smarter over time. Our gross KPIs as a platform are data throughput and what percentage of inputs can be automated. The great thing about Slate is that it's truly multi-entity and multi-currency. So it's really easy to handle complex corporate structures and means you can see all the way along the supply chain. What that really means actually is that it's super easy to just look at everything from one party's point of view. It's pretty basic at the moment, but we also have some customizable reports pages where you can just play around with the data, and the beginnings of a straight API download that'll just hook into whatever data you need it to. That's there. And then we've got some more filterable and customizable reporting pages that just make it pretty easy to do whatever reporting is needed. Because the data is incredibly granular and consistent across different supply chains, it's actually really easy to work with the data once it's in. And ioslate has been designed first and foremost as a tool for a single point of data entry and comparison. The mission I set myself with this was, can I run a supply chain finance business with this thing from my phone on a beach? And honestly, we're pretty close. Just before I leave, I want to go back to this bit. I want to go back to the main report page and tell you why that's so important, why this is so important. Basically, if you know what you're looking at, you can see everything across the entire supply chain, which we'll get into in a second, across financial, logistics, compliance, exposure, and asset layers. So let's move on to the cool stuff. We've started putting some standard graphs into the model, like bank account movements, accounts receivable, accounts payable, that sort of thing. And we're working on some better visualizations. That's not what's cool about where Slate is going. I'm going to move over to the test server to show you some very cool stuff. So ioslate was built from the ground up to natively handle finance, logistics, compliance, exposure, and asset security. And you can view those layers separately, or the really cool bit is that you can view them together. So if you just, there's a visualization that's a lot better for this, but the basics of it are, in this is a very simple transaction where the goods are moving from the supplier to the shipper and back. The top bit up here is the logistics piece, and then the bottom bit is the finance piece. And to be able to see those together, that's really, really, really important. This is just the sort of basics of the data. How this looks on the visualization page, though, is like this. So effectively, you can see the stage of the supply chain all the way through, and then you've got the finance data there. What's happening in the numbers. To be able to look at this sort of data consistently across transactions, across supply chains, it's incredibly useful in looking at risk. If we just skip over one of the other test visualizations, this will mean a lot if you've ever worked in supply chain finance. Basically, it's the screen that everyone really wants, but no one seems to have been able to put together, combining exposure, actual asset coverage, and credit limits over time, so that you can see where your client facility has gone and where it's going to be, completely at a glance. It's a massive time saver. The really, really cool bit though is what we can do with the metadata. And what we're really trying to do is, for any given transaction, any given geography, any given supply chain, at any given size, and any given risk rating, what's the real risk in that transaction? Where's it going to go wrong? What's the bit where you're really exposed? The really exciting bit is being able to accurately assess the risk across different supply chains and actually within the various different parts of the supply chain and chop them up and then assess and price each part of the risk separately. In terms of pricing efficiency, that will make a real difference. So there you have it. Back to the risk curve again. If you're in the business of financing those risks, it's valuable to be able to move further down the curve with a vastly more efficient software tool. And if you want to know where the risk in your supply chain sits, ioslate does that for you too. At the start, we always used to say that ioslate turns unstructured data into an asset, but actually these days it's far more than that.